Alright guys, so the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro were officially announced by Google today. Well, officially announced for like the third or fourth time by Google, and we know pretty much everything there is to know about these two phones. And in today's video, I specifically want to talk about the differences between the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro and whether they're worth the money or not. Let's talk about it. Alright, so before we get started, just want to let you guys know I actually do have the Pixel 6 Pro in hand already. I will be doing a lot of videos with this, so make sure you guys are subscribed so you guys don't miss those. But today, I am not going to be actually talking about this phone specifically because a lot of things I can't talk about. So instead, I just want to talk about the differences between the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro and whether it's worth the differences or worth the $300 price difference that is between the two phones. Now, in case you missed it, the Pixel 6 starts at an incredible $600, which is a really, really good price. In fact, that's like flagship killer territory. Don't want to throw that word around, but that is where we are. Whereas the Pixel 6 Pro starts in at a very, very reasonable $900. Yeah, that is a really, really good price for both of these phones, but that's a $300 price difference. And that price difference seems a little steep considering you're not missing out on a lot of things with the Pixel 6. So let's talk about the differences and think about whether it's worth it or not. Starting off with the things that they have the same. So they have the exact same processor. This is the new Google Tensor processor, and it is the same processor in both of these phones. There is one slight difference, and that is in the amount of RAM that you have between the two phones. So the Pixel 6 Pro has 12 gigabytes of RAM, whereas the Pixel 6 only has 8 gigabytes of RAM. So that's the only difference in terms of like processor and raw speed of the phone. It's just the difference in RAM. So you may be able to keep more applications in memory for the Pixel 6 Pro and be able to use like higher memory applications like video editors if you're someone who edits video on your phone. But yeah, other than that, I don't really see a difference in performance between these two phones. So that is a huge plus in the fact that you can get the exact same performance for $600 that you could for $900. So that is fantastic. Now, the other differences are a little bit more substantial. So of course we have a difference in the screens. So the Pixel 6 Pro has a much larger 6.7-inch 120 hertz display. It's also variable refresh rate, so it can go down to as low as 10 hertz, which saves your battery life when you're not looking at something that needs to be refreshed at 120 hertz. When you're not like scrolling through lists and things. That's awesome technology. Whereas the Pixel 6, you are limited to a 6.4-inch display. It's also 1080p versus the 1440p on the larger 6 Pro. And then of course you're also limited to 90 hertz, which I think is the biggest hit of them all. Like, I'm fine with the smaller display. It's just that I really wish it would have been 120 hertz. Now, I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make to average people, but to me, 120 hertz is not worth $300 more. Of course, not by itself, there are other differences. As the next big differences are in terms of camera. So the Pixel 6 Pro and the Pixel 6 share the same main and ultra wide cameras on the back. However, the Pixel 6 Pro additionally has a telephoto camera that does 4 times telephoto zoom, which is pretty cool. It's got a little periscope thing right there. If you guys notice, the cutout for it is a little rectangle over there. It's a really cool look. It's very different than most phones, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, so a 4 times telephoto. Again, is that worth that much money difference? Don't know, but we'll see at the end after all this. And additionally, it also has an upgraded front-facing camera that is capable of recording 4K video, whereas the 6 is just relegated to just 1080p. So yeah, so keeping track of this, since the differences, we have the displays, and then we have cameras. I think those are the two biggest changes between these two phones. The only other change is, of course, in battery size. The 6 Pro has 5,000 milliamp hour battery, whereas the 6 is like 4,600 something. So, you know, there's a bit of a difference in battery, but of course you have a smaller screen and a lower refresh rates, which will save you a lot of battery in the long run. So yeah, those are the main differences between the two phones. Now, of course, Google being Google, they're not actually making any different software for the two phones. Like what the Pixel 6 Pro can do, the Pixel 6 can also do. This isn't like where Apple has like features like ProRes recording limited to just the Pro phones and things like that. Instead, these two phones can do almost exactly the same things. So in terms of the experience you're going to have between these two phones, it's going to be basically the same, except again, the display is going to be slightly worse and the camera quality, you know, you're going to be missing one of those lenses. Now, again, is this worth $300? Like, that's the big question we have here, because if you can get the Pixel 6, if you can get the performance and then you get the great software and then you get the great cameras, because let's face it, the cameras are still going to be great on these Pixel phones and great build quality, like why would you not save the money and just go with the Pixel 6 instead? I think Google is really kind of shooting themselves in the foot by not having more options at more price points. Like Apple does this thing great, where they actually basically now have an iPhone at every $100 price point except for like $900. Like if you want to spend $800 on a phone, you just get the iPhone 13. If you want to spend $1,000, you get the iPhone 13 Pro. If you want to spend a little bit more and get a bigger phone, you get the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Like they have all these options for you, whereas Google, just two options, and there's a pretty big price difference between the two without, I think, there being a very large feature set difference between the two phones. So to me, I think they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot by just offering that. And I don't know how many people are actually going to buy the Pixel 6 Pro when I think the Pixel 6 just makes more sense. In fact, I think the Pixel 6 makes more sense to buy than the Pixel 5a because it's just $150 more and it's better in every single way. It's got better build quality, it's got better processor, it's got better screen, it's got better cameras. Like it's just better in every single way that you would want a phone to be, and it's only $150 more, and that's amazing. Like that's why I think the Pixel 6 is probably the best Android phone out right now, like the best valued Android phones out right now. So yeah, with that, that's pretty much it for this video. Like I said, more videos coming soon about the Pixel phones. I have them in hand. I have all the new photo modes that I really want to talk about, but we'll have to wait on those. So yeah, with that, that's pretty much it for the video. Like this one if you like this, subscribe if you guys loved it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.